He had the talent of a world heavyweight champion. So why was Arn Anderson never the guy? The answer is tangled up in the very thing that made him a legend in the first place: the Four Horsemen. In the wild, larger-than-life world of 1980s pro wrestling, you had your superstars, and then you had your workmen. There were the guys on the lunchboxes, and then there were the guys who made you believe it was a real fight. They were the glue, the foundation. And maybe nobody embodied that spirit more than Arn Anderson. He was called the Enforcer for a reason. He earned that title every single night. Arn was a master of his craft, a walking textbook on ring psychology who could pick an opponent apart with brutal efficiency. His promos were masterclasses in conviction. He never had to scream because his chilling certainty made every word feel like a threat. In a business built on fiction, Arn Anderson felt like the truth. He was a highly decorated champion. WCW billed his television championship as a world title, and alongside Tully Blanchard, he even captured the WWF World Tag Team Championship. He was a core member of the most influential stable in wrestling history, a group that defined an entire era. According to just about everyone who laced up a pair of boots alongside him, he had all the tools to be the World Heavyweight Champion. And yet, he never held the big one. The NWA or WCW World Heavyweight Championship. That glaring omission has become one of wrestling's most enduring questions. How could a man so respected, so skilled, so vital to his company's success never reach the absolute pinnacle? The story isn't just about being overlooked. It's a complex tale of loyalty, structure, and sacrifice. It's the story of how the very thing that made Arn Anderson a legend, his role in the Four Horsemen, was the same thing that built the glass ceiling he could never break. To understand what was lost, you have to understand what was there. Before he was the Enforcer, Martin Lundy was billed as the newest member of the legendary Anderson family, teaming with the intimidating Ole Anderson in the Minnesota Wrecking Crew. It was a role that would have crushed a lesser talent, but for Arn, it was a natural fit. Right from the start, his style was different. While wrestling in the North was leaning into cartoon characters, Arn stayed grounded in a gritty realism. Every move he made had a purpose. A gourd buster wasn't for a cheap pop, it was to knock the wind out of his opponent and set up the next attack. His DDT wasn't just a popular finisher. In Arn's hands, it was a sudden, violent end to a brutal sentence. And then there was the spine buster. It's a move many have tried, but only one man ever perfected. Arn's spine buster was a piece of violent art. The scoop, the rotation, the devastating impact, it was his calling card, a symbol of his no-nonsense approach. It was everything that made him great, efficient, believable, and absolutely devastating. But his talent wasn't just physical. On the microphone, Arn was a maestro of menace. While his stablemate Ric Flair was all style and bravado, Arn was the grim reality check. His promos weren't about private jets, they were about broken bones. He had an incredible gift for improvising, and in one famous off-the-cuff interview, he laid out the alliance of himself, Ole, Flair, and Tully Blanchard. He said that to have that much havoc wreaking in one area, you'd have to go back to the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. With one sentence, he didn't just coin a name, he created an identity. By 1986, his excellence was undeniable. He held the NWA Television Championship for most of the year, treating it like his own personal world title. He was a mechanic, a wrestler so fundamentally sound he could have a great match with anyone. He was the guy bookers could rely on for a guaranteed quality performance. His peers respected him for his toughness, but also for his intelligence and selflessness in the ring. He was a main event talent playing a supporting role. He checked every box. He had the skill, the mind, and the credibility. He was ready. But in Jim Crockett Promotions, a perfect storm was brewing, and Arn Anderson was about to become its anchor, forever tying his own ambitions to the fate of the group. The Four Horsemen weren't just a group. They were an idea. In the mid-'80s, Jim Crockett Promotions was in a war with Vince McMahon's expanding WWF. Crockett needed something real, something that stood in stark contrast to the WWF's cartoon world. He found it in four men who embodied arrogant excellence. Ric Flair was the star, the nature boy whose charisma was the group's glittering surface. His career total would eventually be recognized as 16 world championships. Tully Blanchard was the cocky, ruthless technician. Ole Anderson was the grizzled veteran who gave the group its credibility, and Arn was its soul. If Flair was the king, Arn was the prime minister and the head of security all rolled into one. Managed by the brilliant J.J. Dillon, the Horsemen were built for one purpose: keeping the NWA World Heavyweight Championship around Ric Flair's waist. This wasn't a stable of equals. It was a corporation with a strict hierarchy. Flair was the CEO, and the others were vice presidents of violence. Their main job was to protect the company's most valuable asset, Flair's title. They were a pack of wolves, and their mission was to make sure their leaders stayed at the top of the food chain, no matter what it took. This created an unspoken rule for Arn Anderson. His job wasn't to chase the top prize himself, but to be the enforcer who stopped anyone else from taking it from Flair. When a hero like Dusty Rhodes or Sting got too close, it was Arn who'd show up with a steel chair to cut them down. His success was measured in Flair's title defenses. He was brilliant at it, maybe the best ever. He made you believe he would sacrifice his own career for the good of the group. He became a champion in a different way. He and Tully Blanchard formed one of the greatest tag teams of all time, capturing the NWA World Tag Team titles. They were so good that they later jumped to the WWF and won the World Tag Team Championship there too. Arn often said he viewed the television championship as his own world title, and he defended it with pride. And he was right to. But the big gold belt, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, was always meant for Flair. That was the philosophy. For Arn to challenge for, let alone win, that title would have betrayed the group's entire identity. It would have been like asking a Secret Service agent to run for president. It just wasn't in the job description. He was locked in a gilded cage, celebrated for his role, but also trapped by it. Being the enforcer meant you were the most dependable man in wrestling. You were the booker's secret weapon. If a top star got injured, you could slide Arn into the main event. If a new fan favorite needed credibility, a feud with Arn would give it to them. He was a Swiss Army knife of talent. And that's the tragic irony of his career. He was too valuable in his supporting role to ever be promoted to the lead. The whole system was built on his sacrifice. The creative and financial structure of Jim Crockett Promotions revolved around Ric Flair as champion. It was a formula that drew huge money. Why would a booker risk dismantling the most profitable act in the company? You wouldn't. So Arn remained the foundation holding up the king, never allowed to wear the crown himself. This reality became painfully clear in the summer of 1991. After a bitter dispute with WCW's new boss, Jim Herd, Ric Flair was fired. Herd, a former pizza executive who didn't get wrestling, reportedly wanted to repackage the legendary Flair as a Roman gladiator named Spartacus. Flair refused, and Herd fired the reigning WCW World Heavyweight Champion, who then famously took the big gold belt with him to the WWF. WCW was in chaos. They had no champion and their biggest star was gone. This was the moment. The power vacuum was immense, and Arn Anderson, the credible heart of the company, was standing right there. Rewarding him with a world title run would have been the perfect payoff for years of loyalty. Instead, management made a decision that revealed everything. They didn't turn to the loyal enforcer. At the Great American Bash, Lex Luger defeated Barry Windham to become the new WCW World Heavyweight Champion. The choice was clear. Management valued the marketable, bodybuilder physique of Luger over the gritty, believable authenticity of Arn Anderson. He looked like a guy who could win a real fight, not a guy you put on a toy package. The ceiling Arn was under wasn't just a byproduct of the Horsemen, it was now official company policy. What's fascinating, though, is that Arn himself has often said that winning the world title was never his main goal. He took immense pride in his television and tag team title reigns. He measured his career by the respect he earned in the locker room. His goal was to be the guy everyone wanted to work with, because they knew they'd get his best. While fans and critics talked about his missed opportunity, Arn had his own definition of success. He didn't see himself as a victim, but as a craftsman who perfected his trade. Wrestling history is often written by its world champions, but every now and then a figure comes along whose legacy is so huge it doesn't need a title to validate it. Jake the Snake Roberts, Rowdy Roddy Piper, Scott Hall, and right at the top of that list, Arn Anderson. His career proves you don't need to hold the top title to be a top guy. His influence runs through generations of wrestlers. Superstars like Triple H and Randy Orton have talked about the impact Arn had on their understanding of the business. His timing, his psychology, his ability to tell a story with just a look. These were the skills that true students of the game admired. His spinebuster is now part of wrestling's DNA, adopted by dozens of performers as a tribute to the master. The respect he commands is absolute. When Arn Anderson talks, everyone listens. This was never clearer than on August 25, 1997. Standing in a WCW Monday Nitro ring, Arn announced his retirement from full-time wrestling due to severe injuries. In a moment that felt more real than any storyline, he delivered one of the most emotional speeches in wrestling history, offering his spot in the Horsemen to Curt Hennig. It was a raw, vulnerable moment from one of the industry's toughest men, and it cemented his status as a revered elder statesman. His value was never about being the centerpiece, it was about making the centerpiece shine. A win over Arn Anderson meant something. Surviving a feud with the Horsemen meant you were ready. Arn was the gatekeeper, the final boss before the final boss. He made champions look legitimate. A champion is only as strong as his challengers, and for a decade, Arn was the most formidable force in the business, even without vying for the title himself. After retiring, he seamlessly transitioned into a backstage role as a producer and mentor in WWE and now AEW, sharing his knowledge with a new generation. He was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, not as a solo star, but as a member of the Four Horsemen, the group that both made him a legend and kept him from the one prize that eluded him. In the end, the story of Arn Anderson and the World Heavyweight Championship is a classic conflict between individual greatness and the needs of the group. He had every tool required: the skill, the promo, the mind, and the respect of his peers. But he was also the heart of the Four Horsemen. He was the enforcer, the strategist, the loyal soldier whose primary duty was to protect Ric Flair. He played that part so perfectly that he became indispensable. The very system he helped build, the one that brought so much success, was also the system that trapped him. When his one real shot appeared after Flair's departure in 1991, corporate politics and a preference for a more marketable look sealed his fate. Yet to call Arn's career a failure is to completely miss the point. While his resume boasts World Tag Team and World Television titles, his legacy is not about what could have been, it's about what was. A career built on unparalleled respect, consistency, and influence. He is the champion's champion, the man whose approval meant more than any belt. Arn Anderson helped secure Ric Flair's legacy as a 16-time world champion. In doing so, he sacrificed his own chance to hold that same title. He was the champion the Horsemen needed, but also the one their own blueprint for success wouldn't allow them to make. So, what's your take? Do you think Arn Anderson should have been the NWA or WCW World Champion? And if he had won it, who would have been his greatest rival for the title? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.